All right, so welcome everyone. Ready to dive deep with us today? We're going to be exploring something pretty fascinating, I think,
Yeah,
and maybe even a little bit unnerving too.
I agree.
We're talking about the world of, well, basically hidden manipulation.
That's right. We're not talking about like the in-your-face kind of manipulation. Yeah.
Right, right. Definitely not the obvious stuff.
Not the aggressive stuff.
We're-
This is more about those subtle tactics
Yeah, the sneaky stuff.
that can influence how we think and act, and we don't even realize it.
Like it's happening under the surface.
Exactly.
And, to kind of guide us through this, we'll be pulling some insights from this article, Unlock Creator Mode, Hidden Manipulation Tactics Exposed. When I first saw that title, I have to admit, I thought, ooh, this is getting a little,
Conspiracy theory.
yeah, like a little bit out there. But then the more I actually read it, the more I was like, wait a minute, this stuff is like, it's everywhere, right?
It really is. It's woven into like so many of our everyday interactions. That's why we're here, though,
Right.
to like shine a light on it, help you guys recognize it,
Yeah.
and give you the tools to actually deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, before we jump into all the specifics, we got to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're even talking about.
Absolutely.
So when we say manipulation, like, what does that even actually mean?
Well, think of it as, one person trying to control or influence another. But it's for their benefit, not yours.
Gotcha.
And it's not always some, evil mastermind plotting.
Right.
Sometimes people manipulate without even knowing they're doing it.
Oh, interesting. So it's not always like a mustache twirling villain.
No, not at all.
It can be more subtle.
Way more. And it's important to realize that there are like tons of ways people try to do this, right?
Yeah, okay.
And they often target specifically our thoughts,
Okay.
our decisions, and our emotions.
So let's break those down one by one. Yeah. How do manipulators like target our thoughts?
Well, imagine they're like planting little seeds in your mind.
Okay.
Subtle ideas, beliefs that actually support their agenda.
Like under the radar.
For example, they might constantly make negative comments about your job, hoping you'll start to doubt it over time.
So it's like a slow drip, drip, drip.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that's thoughts. Then there's decisions. Right.
That's often about like steering you towards choices that help them, even if they're not good for you.
Tricky. Can you give me an example?
Say you're thinking about a new job.
Okay.
A manipulator might downplay the risks or pump up the rewards
Oh, right.
just to nudge you towards taking it,
Even if it's not a good fit.
even if it's a terrible idea. Yeah.
So they're basically like painting a fake picture.
Yeah, skewing your view of reality.
Got it. And then there's the emotional manipulation part.
Right. And that one's often the most powerful, the hardest to even see.
Yeah, that makes sense. How does that usually work?
It's about like playing on your feelings to make you more vulnerable to their influence. Could be guilt trips, acting like the victim,
Oh.
or even showering you with tons of praise.
That fake flattery thing.
Exactly. The article actually could called it fake positivity or false trust, which I thought was interesting.
That really resonates with me. I remember this one time, I'm not going to name names, but let's just say someone was laying it on thick with the compliments.
Yeah.
All smiles, all charm. But looking back, it was so obvious how calculated it all was.
And that's what makes it so effective.
Right.
You totally disarm you. Your guard goes down.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're trusting them without even like questioning their motives.
It's like they lull you into a false sense of security.
Exactly.
And the article had some really spot-on examples, too. Like someone who always agrees with you, even when it's clear they don't actually agree.
Right.
Or they're like praising you for things that aren't even that great.
Just trying to butter you up.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough because, everyone likes to feel appreciated.
Of course.
It's natural to be drawn to people who make us feel good.
It is.
But the article really stressed paying attention to those gut feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if something feels off or too good to be true.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah, because it probably is.
Yeah. And that's something we'll talk more about later when we get to that whole creator mode idea.
Okay, so we've got fake positivity. But the article also talked about some darker tactics, right?
Yeah,
Like using fear and guilt to control someone.
that's right. And that's where it gets, a little bit more serious.
Yeah, a little scarier.
Because, fake positivity on the surface can almost seem harmless,
Yeah.
but fear and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
that could really do some damage.
Yeah, because it preys on those vulnerabilities we all have.
Exactly. And the article had these examples of phrases that manipulators use, like, if you really cared, you would.
Ugh.
Or
Right.
you owe me for.
Ugh. That just makes my skin crawl.
I know. They're designed to trigger those feelings of guilt
Yeah.
and obligation, so you can't say no,
You feel trapped.
and you wouldn't believe how well it works.
Okay, so let's say someone uses one of those guilt trip lines on me, right?
Hmm.
How do I even know if it's manipulation or if I'm just, like, being a bad friend or something?
Well, pay attention to how you feel after talking to that person.
Okay.
Do you feel drained, anxious, like resentful?
Yeah.
Are you second-guessing yourself all the time,
Oh, okay.
walking on eggshells?
I get it. So it's not just about the words they're using. It's about that whole vibe, the feeling of being pressured
Yeah, controlled.
instead of freely making a choice.
Exactly. And it's also about asking yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid of what'll happen if I don't?
That's a good question to ask.
It is.
Okay, there's one more tactic that the article talked about that I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
It's the twisting the truth thing.
Ah, yes.
I think we've all been there, but it's so hard to catch.
Oh, it really is. It plays on our trust,
Yeah.
that desire we all have to believe the best in people.
Right, like how do you even know what's real anymore when someone's messing with the facts?
Well, that's where paying close attention is really key.
Okay.
Manipulators who twist the truth. They're masters of omission, distortion,
So they leave things out, twist things around.
and they downplay stuff.
Okay, so how would they do that in real life?
Imagine you've got a friend who always borrows money,
Okay.
but never pays it back.
I've got a few of those.
Right. And you confront them.
Yeah.
They might say, oh, I thought I already paid you back. Or, it wasn't even that much, was it?
Ugh, yeah. Like you start doubting your own memory.
Exactly. It's like they're gaslighting you.
It is.
And they might also, conveniently forget important details or
Yeah.
downplay red flags.
So it's all about controlling how you see things.
Exactly.
So how do we protect ourselves from that kind of manipulation?
The article suggested asking direct questions, watching how they respond. Are they vague? Defensive? Do they change the subject?
Red flags, red flags.
Big red flags.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive,
Yeah.
not just accepting whatever they're feeding you.
Got it. So we've covered a lot, but it seems like manipulation can take a lot of different forms.
It really can. From that
Yeah.
fake positivity that seems harmless
Right.
to the darker stuff, the fear, the guilt, and that twisting the truth thing.
Yeah.
It's all manipulation.
So what do we do about it?
The good news is, just by recognizing it, we're already starting to break free.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And that brings us to that creator mode idea, which we'll get into more in the next part.
Okay, so we'll dive into that next time.
We will.
This creator mode is all about protecting ourselves, taking back control.
It is.
So everyone, stay tuned.
It's going to be good.
We'll be back with more on how to unlock that creator mode and really combat this hidden manipulation.
Looking forward to it.
See you all soon.
See you then. Okay, so, last time we were talking about this idea of creator mode, right?
Yeah.
And what really stood out to me about this whole concept is that it's not just about, dodging manipulation.
Right.
It's about actually creating your own reality, taking charge.
I love that. Way more empowering than just being on defense all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about realizing we actually have a choice in how we react to things and, how much we let other people influence us.
Okay, so how do we actually get into this creator mode? The article mentioned a few key parts, right?
It did. And the first one, the foundation, is all about self-awareness.
Okay, so being aware of ourselves.
Yeah. It's about taking the time to really think about our emotions, our decisions, asking ourselves, am I just doing this out of habit?
Right.
Is this what I want? Or am I being swayed by someone else?
So it's almost like we're becoming detectives of our own minds.
I like that, yeah. It's about noticing those little cues, that feeling of unease in your gut, that little voice in your head saying, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Those are signs that something might be off.
Right, like a warning signal.
Exactly, and it's telling us to pause and investigate.
That makes sense. It's easy to just kind of go through life on autopilot,
It really is, and that's what manipulators are counting on.
Oh, yeah.
They rely on us just accepting things without really thinking about them.
So creator mode is about breaking free from that.
Yes. Becoming more conscious, deliberate in what we do.
Okay, I like it. And then the second part of this creator mode, it takes that idea even further.
It does. It's about questioning everything.
So not just questioning ourselves, but also questioning the information we're getting from other people.
Yeah, and their intentions. Don't just take things at face value, Especially when it comes to advice,
Okay.
praise, or pressure from other people. Always ask yourself, what's their angle?
Yeah.
Could there be something else going on here?
Right. I think this is so important with social media and all that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're constantly being bombarded with information.
Yes. And it's easy to get swept up in it all,
Yeah, I totally.
to fall for people trying to manipulate what we think, how we spend money.
So we have to be even more careful now.
More discerning than ever. And that means being willing to challenge things,
Yeah.
to ask those tough questions and look for different perspectives.
So creator mode, it's about thinking for ourselves.
Exactly.
Not just following the crowd or the loudest voices.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's also about, setting boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Boundaries, they're tough.
They can be, yeah.
Especially for people who, want to please everyone or
Right.
have trouble saying no.
But the article really stressed how important it is to learn to say no
Yeah.
and to do it without feeling guilty or hesitant.
Right, because boundaries are about protecting ourselves.
Exactly. It's about our time,
Yeah.
our energy, and our emotional space.
So how do we actually set boundaries,
Wow.
especially with people who, might be manipulative?
Well, the first thing is to be super clear about what your boundaries even are.
Okay, so know yourself first.
Yeah, what are the things you absolutely won't compromise on? What are you not willing to put up with?
Right, knowing what you stand for.
Exactly. And then it's about actually communicating those boundaries
Okay.
clearly and assertively.
So not being aggressive?
No,
Oh, yeah.
but also not being a pushover.
Right, finding that balance.
It's about stating your needs clearly, respectfully.
Okay, so can you give me an example of what that might sound like?
Sure. Let's say you've got a coworker who always wants you to cover their shift.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Right. You could say, hey, I'm happy to help out sometimes,
Okay.
but I can't cover your shift every week.
Yeah.
I've got my own stuff going on.
So it's about being direct but not rude?
Exactly. And it's also about being consistent,
Ah, okay, so not giving in.
Yeah, because if you do, it sends the message that your boundaries are, flexible. And then they're harder to enforce later on.
That makes sense. And the article also talked about, distancing ourselves from people who are draining.
Yes. Or who just don't respect our boundaries.
Sometimes you have to create some space,
Yeah.
Or even cut ties completely if they're toxic.
Right, that's hard. But sometimes it's necessary.
It is, to protect yourself.
Okay, and then the final piece of creator mode.
Right. This one's all about seeking the full truth.
And I think this is, especially relevant these days.
Oh, absolutely.
With so much information, misinformation flying
Yeah.
around.
It's how do we even know what to believe anymore?
Right, so how do we do that? Seek the full truth.
Well, it starts with being proactive,
Okay.
Don't just passively accept information, especially if it's coming from a source that might have an agenda.
Good point.
So, diversify your sources.
Okay.
Don't rely on just one news outlet, one social media feed. See what different people are saying.
Get the full picture.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to, dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Look at where the information is coming from, the sources behind the claims.
So, do your own research.
Yes. Ask yourself, who's saying this? Why?
Right.
What are their biases?
It's like becoming an investigator,
Totally. And it's also about being critical of our own biases.
Right, because we all have them.
We do.
Yeah.
And it's important to be aware of how they might be shaping what we see and how we make decisions.
So it's about being both skeptical but also open-minded.
You got it. And then, of course, there's the intuition piece.
Right, our gut feelings.
Yeah, if something feels off, don't ignore it.
Okay.
Investigate, ask questions, or just walk away.
Solid advice. So just to recap, creator mode is about that self-awareness, questioning everything.
Yes.
Setting those boundaries and seeking the truth.
And it's not about being paranoid or distrustful of everyone.
Right.
It's about developing that healthy skepticism, agency, so we can move through the world confidently.
And authentically.
Exactly.
It sounds like it's a journey, not a destination.
It totally is.
Yeah.
But it's one worth taking, because it's about taking back your power,
Yeah.
living a life that's truly yours, aligned with your values.
I love that. Really powerful stuff. It's funny, as we've been talking about all this, about manipulation and creator mode,
Yeah.
I've been thinking back on my own life,
Hmm.
and I'm starting to see it everywhere.
Right.
Even in places I never would have expected,
It's once you open your eyes to it, you can't unsee it.
Exactly. But one thing I've also been thinking about
Right.
is that sometimes I don't think people are trying to manipulate.
Oh, that's a really good point. We've been focusing on how to spot it from others,
Yeah.
but it's just as important to look at our own behavior,
Totally.
We all have the potential to manipulate, even accidentally.
It's true. It's true. It's easy to think, oh, I'm the victim, but we all have blind spots.
We do.
And we can all fall into those patterns.
Absolutely. And that's why self-awareness is so huge.
Yeah.
The more we understand ourselves, the less likely we are to manipulate others without realizing it.
So it's not just about protecting ourselves.
No.
It's about being responsible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ethical in how we treat other people.
Right. And approaching these situations with, like, compassion.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when we're setting boundaries, protecting ourselves.
Because sometimes, the people who are manipulating us,
Yeah,
they're the ones who are actually hurting the most.
that's true.
They might be insecure, scared, or just don't know how to communicate their needs in a healthy way.
Right.
It's not always coming from a bad place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we're learning to recognize manipulation and push back against it,
Yeah.
we should also be trying to be more authentic, more honest in our own communication.
I love that. Creating a more conscious,
Yeah.
ethical culture where everyone's treated with respect.
Wouldn't that be great? A world where we can all just be ourselves.
Yeah.
No need to manipulate, no need to control.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have all the different sides of manipulation.
From the subtle stuff to the really bad stuff.
And of course, that empowering idea of creator mode.
I hope everyone listening feels like they have some tools now
Me too.
to spot these tactics, to set boundaries, and start creating their own reality.
Remember, knowledge is power.
That's right.
And the more we understand about manipulation, the less control it has over us.
So, as you go about your day to day, pay attention.
Yeah.
Where do you see these tactics? Are you being manipulated? Are you maybe manipulating someone else without realizing it?
It's a challenge for all of us, to
Yes, yeah.
become more aware, more intentional in how we connect with ourselves and the world.
Well said. A huge thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive
Yes, thank you.
into the world of hidden manipulation
We hope you learned something.
and feel inspired to step into your own creator mode.
Remember, you have the power to choose.
Absolutely. You choose how you respond, how you interact, and how you shape your own life.
Until next time,
Stay curious
stay vigilant.
and stay true to yourselves.